Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome to the channel. If you are new, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more Marvel Snap contents. We do have a new character dropping in less than a day now. By the time this video is out, it should be about a day. Fast takes on Archangel Horseman of Death. I do not think he's necessary. I think there's ways to replace him. I do think he has one solid deck that is using him, but I think he's replaceable out of that. So that is something to consider. Moving on to the new card though, Polaris. I'm gonna be honest, guys. Okay, so far objectives have not really impressed me. I think Strife is the only one that's really impressed me because of like the situation that he can proc Fing Fang Foom after the end of turn deck, which is dominating right now. I think that's the one thing he has going for him. If you remove Fing Fang Foom out of his arsenal, I think Strife's pretty mid. That being said, I think there's some decent combos of Strife still. Like but his arsenal is really just kind of limited to like Odin, Giant Zombie Man, Fing Fang Foom, and I guess Xiao maybe. Right? It's really a small arsenal, even though we have so many on reveals. Polaris is exclusively going to be restricted to mostly Affliction because of how she's built. She's a 2/2 objective card in play. Cards in play are inflicted with -5 power. Put a card from your hand here. As a Phantom X player, I've been kind of tinkering around if this could be good in Phantom X, and I just don't think it's necessary for Phantom X. I think you're just better off running something else. Not saying that she's bad. I just think for a Phantom X build, she's going to make it feel a little bit more clunky. You may pull something you don't want to pull, and it could backfire. The upside is you pull something good, but like for the most part, Phantom X decks are already low to the floor when it comes to cost, so you don't really necessarily need this unless you're trying to do something extremely crazy and like high risk. So I don't think she's necessary for Phantom X. I think this will be a unit used with the Affliction style decks exclusively. There will be those who try it with Phantom X, but I don't know if they're going to stick with it. I just think she's a awkward character, even though I think she looks really cool. When it comes to deck builds, I've been kind of tinkering with the idea of like, so this is the base build that gives you one extra slot to use as for whatever you want. As long as you have your coverage, let me make sure I'm not like blocking this. So, okay, yeah, I'm good. So as long as you have your coverage for countering out the opponent's Luke Cage, because like if you go into a Luke Cage as an Affliction, you have to make sure you're able to shut off Luke Cage. It is a must, otherwise you will lose. The deck's all about afflicting to your opponents and not getting really big. And if you're unable to do the thing that it wants to do, you're going to lose anyway. So having answers for Luke Cage, Deafening Chord, Red Guardian, Lady Deathstrike. Gambit is kind of an RNG unit, so it doesn't really work, especially in Affliction. I think your best bet's like Red Guardian, Deafening Chord, right? I think that's what you're looking for when you're trying to go into this type of deck. Now, Polaris is going to be a 2-drop, so I think you drop the Wiccan deck style with this build if you want to use Polaris. I don't think it's necessary to go Wiccan unless you go Quicksilver Wiccan or Quicksilver Polaris USA Agent and then hope that you can get your 2-drop down. I'm not the biggest fan of Wiccan. I think he makes things awkward, but I do think it's okay with the Wiccan style Affliction decks that they can look pretty good. But with Polaris, I don't think she's going to be used with Wiccan. Now, when it comes to like what you're looking to grab with this character, it's mostly looking like it's just going to be like Man-Thing, Ajax. Whenever Scorpion drops in July, you're going to want to grab Scorpion. If I could actually, spell for once. There we go. I think when Scorpion drops, she'll have much more like a intriguing reason to run. I think there's not enough big things in this deck for you to really want to grab. That being said, you're probably not playing her on turn 2 anyway. I think her being played on turn 2 is foolish because you may get countered. She could die, get disabled, be blocked. There's a lot of things that can happen if you play her too early. I think the best situation for you to play her is like turn 5 with Hazmat as like the thing you play her with. I think a Polaris Hazmat turn 5 would look pretty solid. That way you're able to instantly pull whatever it is out of your hand. That takes 2 cards out of your hand, and you can only have a max 7, so that means there's only going to be potentially 5 cards left, depending on like how much is left in your deck and how much you played. You're much better off with a 1 in 5 chance than a 1 in 7 chance. So I think Polaris plus Hazmat turn 5 might be something that you might want to look forward to. And then if you're lucky, You may pull a Caliban that's ready to go. You may pull a Man-Thing. You may pull an Ajax, a Diamondback. There's a lot of value in those right there. I think the things you don't want to pull are like Red Guardian and Deafening Chord. I think those are two things you don't want to pull unless you're strategically placing them on that platform where Luke Cage is or potentially is going to be to snipe him. I think that's the only risk reward factor that you might have to look forward to. Pulling an Anti-Venom would be probably okay. It would make your lane smaller overall, but you'd make your next like draw like nicer overall because it's going to be free. So I would be mad if Polaris pulled an Anti-Venom. I think that'd be okay. It depends what it hits, right? So I think it's mostly for Affliction, and I don't think it's necessary. If you were to ask me, do I think this is necessary? I would say this is more so for flavor and as a later drop for maybe a strategy you're working up on your hand, like for like that later play. I don't think she's a necessity. I don't think she's a necessary 2-drop. I don't think you play her on turn 2 because you can get punished for that, and then she's just kind of dead in the water, right? Now, when it comes to, let's go to scheduling, cards to come. We still have to look out for Storm. I think Storm is going to be relatively okay. But I'm going to be honest, guys. So far, objective-based cards have not really made me super excited. They've kind of just all missed the mark, except for, like, once again, Strife, which has had that very few niche where he's good, right? In May, we're going to be getting the Daredevil season. I do think Punisher is going to be something a little bit more delightful to run. I think it's going to be easier to use him when it comes to what he's trying to do. So if you're trying to get Punisher, you could skip. I do think whenever Akari drops, I think this will be kind of nice with Polaris, where you can force him into a field. I think that will be kind of a nice little combo there until we get to July. June, I don't think anything big is coming in June. No, it'd be July, right? The next big thing would be July, which would be the Brand New Day Scorpion, which would probably be the key thing you want to pull with that unit. Is the biggest thing in your deck, potentially this, depending on what it is. I doubt these stats are gonna be the same. It might be. It might just be a 6/7 that doubles all your inflictions. That might be what it is. We don't know. But overall, I think this is a unnecessary unit. I think you could just as very well as easily just play anything else here. You could probably just play a search here, hope that you hit one of your 3 costs and just, boost your board that way a little faster. You could just go back to using Quicksilver Wiccan with a Domino and still play that style deck. I think you have options outside of Polaris, which is the main thing. So is she worth it? Only if you really like her. I will say I do really like her art. I do think her art is one of the more positive things about this card. It's one of the more, especially since green is my favorite color. This is very appealing when it comes visually. But as the card's worth, I don't think it's necessary. I feel like a lot of cards this month have dropped that just not really held up to par. Horseman of Wolverine being one of them. And Archangel of Death being another one of them. Strife kind of being hit and miss on, like, Strife's really good. I think Strife's really good with Fing Fang Foom in like certain like situations, but like outside of those few situations, kind of mid. So I expect the same for this unit. I think this is just gonna be another one of those characters that are just kind of nice in her niche, and that's really it. Now, when it comes to Phantom X, I don't think she's gonna work with Phantom X. Not unless you rebuild the deck from the ground up. There is a world where maybe you can mix Phantom X into a heavier infliction style deck, but you still have to optimize for the discard and the destroy. Those are the 2 things that you have to use with Phantom X for him to work. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying it's going to be a little harder. So if you were to build a deck around Phantom X / infliction, you'd have to make some key cuts in this deck. I think you have to cut like Caliban out. I think you would cut out your Red Guardian because you're running Death Strike with Phantom X. So you'd probably go like, I'd have to really sit and think about this, but like you go to Phantom X, Death Strike, because Death Strike is your way to reaching Luke Cage now. You still need discarding, so you'd have to make another cut somewhere. So for the sake of this, we go Morgan Lee. Actually, we can't go Morgan Lee. You can kind of see how this gets a little bit more tricky with Phantom X. Yeah, you might need to cut Ajax because, well, actually, you kind of want Ajax. I don't think you need USA Agent then. I don't think you need Deafening Chord. So you have 1 discard. You would Still want to go for like a second Discord or a backup, which would probably be Gambit. What are our destroys looking like? We have one, so we would need Venom to make it worth it. Because Venom could still eat Ajax at the very end of the game and at least get his power. So that's 2 discards, 2 destroys. Do we care about anti-Venom in a Phantom X version of this deck? I do not know. 4, 4, 4, 5, 5. Well, I mean, we're pulling out with Polaris anyway, so I think we drop this and fill in something else. I don't. You don't really need Marrow because Marrow is just gonna inflict this on top of this infliction deck. You already are inflicting enough. You'd probably want another low cost card or Magic. Just to have turns. I think Magic would probably be relatively a good choice, so you can actually play multiple things on turn. Like maybe something like this. You have 1, 2 discards, 2 destroys, a Magic. It's pushing. It's really pushing it. You're really pushing your luck with this. It's just not really something that. It would take a lot of optimizing to make this work. And then you have to like really think about like what you're gonna be pulling, what could happen if you pull this thing. Like it would take a lot of like luck and a lot of luck. You have no draw power on the stack, so like you're gonna have to play Magic unless you play Nico, and then you have to destroy something with Nico. So you could go Marrow, and hopefully you can like do that combination of things. It's just it gets a little clunky when you try to mix Affliction with discard and destroy all together in like one big bag bundle, like one big bag. It just gets a little clunky. So yeah, I don't know. Not really a fan of that. So Polaris. I think she's going to be exclusively for Affliction. I think Phantom X users are gonna have to like either really think about like what the plan is. Maybe Weapon X Phantom X could use a Polaris, but like she's gonna be niche, that's for sure. So pick her up if you like Affliction. I keep saying I might pick her up. I've been saying that since like Horseman of Wolverine. I skipped him because he was like kind of bad. So like I think this is a wait and see type of unit. Let the community kind of like brew up some stuff with her and see if she's worth it or if she's replaceable like Archangel of Death. Because at the end of the day, she might just be a replaceable unit. Anti-Venom's kind of doing what she's doing. Malice is kind of doing what she's doing. She's just another one of those type of archetypes where she's just getting something out in the field for free. She's cheating something out. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And outside of her card art looking really cool, I don't really have a way to defend her. So yeah.